How many residencies have you done across your time?
They're all so, well, not they're all, because they're not many. Like, this is my first one out of town.
Mm-hmm.
And then I had the one in Arlington, but prior to that, I had one with the same organization. But it was like a local, they'll give you a studio. It's not like come here. And that was like 2 years, and you could have it for up to 6 years. But it was just like subsidized studio space. And not many obligations, you know.
So how was that for you?
It was my first real studio.
Yeah.
So that was amazing to have space. Like prior to that, I had a studio in my home, like one of the bedrooms. So it was great. And I produced my first like full body of work, and had a solo show there. And
In the space?
Well, it was called Arlington Art Center, but they changed it to Museum of Contemporary Art Arlington alongside my solo exhibition. So it was technically like my first solo, but first like museum solo too.
Yeah.
Like, so it was great. It was great for my CV.
How long was that?
I was there for 2 years. 2021 to 2023.
Oh, like fresh out of the pandemic. And how old was your son at the time?
It had to be around, what year is this?
What year are we in? 2026? So that's like 4 years ago.
Yeah, he's probably like 4 or 5. Yeah, he's a baby. He's a baby. I have like some funny videos of him looking at the artwork. He's like, I don't like it.
It's not me.
No, it was him.
Oh, what?
Yes. I was like, what do you think? He's like, no, I don't like it.
Well,
I was like, okay.
I love that he has like a strong opinion already from the beginning.
Yeah.
So how have you found residencies? So that was the last one, and then you've been here, or you've had some in between.
No. Yeah, those were the last ones.
So how have you found that? That sounds like it sounds like that was a good way to like separate it from it feeling like something that you do and more of like a career for you. Yeah.
That was, I think, I mean, I was making art for many years, and then when I got that first residency, that's when I was like, okay, this is the real deal.
I'm an artist.
Right.
I don't make art, I'm an artist.
Right. You know, I felt that way for quite a while, but I studied like artists' careers and how they did during the pandemic mainly, and I'm like, okay, the next thing that I need to do is I need to have a solo show, and I need to, you know, and I'm just trying to figure it out, and it all kind of started to align, and then since then it's been take it off. So
But you know what? That's interesting you said that though, because I was speaking to someone last night, an emerging artist here, trying to figure out how to get into her first residency. And she mentioned that, you know, sometimes these residencies will have so many applicants that they'll admit that, hey, we didn't get a chance to even look at your resume, you know. And so she was feeling a little dejected, and she was just like, you know, it's a little disappointing. I don't know even how to get my foot in the door. And I kind of said, to the sentiment of what you just said, I've seen where that first residency takes place and then you find yourselves and the dominoes start falling into place.
Yeah.
How was it for you trying to like shift from making art at home and finding the first place to participate in a residency or a studio outside of the home? How did you do it? What do you say to the kids there?
Applying and like getting used to hearing no. You know, like I'm okay with that. You know, I'm okay with rejection. Like I had to warm up to it. Sometimes you feel like something is like perfect for you. Like this is the type of art I make. This is in this area, and like this was made for me. And then you hear no, and then it's like, damn, like you know. So
I had that one.
Right. And so what is for you, I am big on like what is for you will be for you. And then there's like also so many types of residencies. Ones that like only 10 people apply to, so they always, you know, get it. So research, talking to my friends. At first I think I was using residencies as like a substitute for going back to school. Because I'm like, I want to have critique. I want to be surrounded by other artists. But then I decided I'm actually going to go back to school and still do residency. So, you know.
And you're in school now. Where are you in school?
American University.
And first year, second year?
It's a 2-year program.
Okay.
I'm 1 year in.
Okay.
I have 1 year to go, which is also flying by.
Right. What was the deciding factor? Why did you feel like going back to school or going for your MFA, right?
Yeah.
Was the next step for you?
Again, like following or just learning about other artists' careers, wanting to get better at talking about my work. Like I'll go to certain artist talk, and I'm like, they just sound so smart, you know. And like I'm not changing who I am. I'm not coaching anything, but I just want to be, you know, knowledgeable about like what I want to say and you know what the history of like the lineage of where my art is coming from. And then the critique aspect too. Like I really didn't have that in undergrad because I didn't know really what I was doing in undergrad, and so it's been helpful getting like little nuggets here and there from my professors that I'm like taking with me. That like it's definitely helping me push the boundaries of my work. So.
Okay, so I want to take it back to the beginning. Maybe not the beginning, but from like early on, when did art enter your life and how?
I get this question I never know how to answer because I was an artistic child.
Okay.
Like my mom said I would do a little bit extra on my little macaroni necklaces and things like that. So I always liked art. By high school, I took like every art class that I could take, and that was like the only thing I liked in school. I was a good student and got good grades, but I just did not enjoy social studies or math or like wasn't particularly great at it. And so by high school, I knew that I wanted to go to college for art.
Okay.
My mom was just like, you have to go to college. I don't care what it's for. You just have to go. And so I wanted to, there was like an art institute or something like that I wanted to go to. Wasn't going for it. But my school also didn't have like portfolio type classes where you're making a portfolio to submit to school. So I ended up at a university and I started with graphic design because then that's how you were told, you know, that's how you make money in digital art. You know? And I tried that and hated it. And then I took a painting class and like my studio classes, the 3 hours of just creating in college. And I was like, oh yeah, like I have to figure this out. I have to figure out how I'm gonna make money. That took a really long time. But I knew in my teenage years that like this is the career that I just didn't know how to like make that sustainable. So.
Yeah. I mean, I think that's the general idea or struggle that people have when they know there's a passion that they have, and it's not necessarily one that is always a direct line to profitability. Like, how do I do this in a way that is enjoyable, that doesn't make me feel like I'm giving up my soul or passion just for the dollar? And I think the tide is turning. I think a lot of people, there's a lot of examples now of artists who have made amazing careers
while alive,
not having to like die, struggling, and then all their work's worth millions of dollars. Yeah. So we're in a better time, at least.
Right. No, people have definitely paved the way, you know, so that's nice. There is no one way. And I still feel like there's a lot to figure out, but there's examples I can look to, and like it is possible. And I'm more of like if somebody else can do it, I can do it type person.
Yeah. Are there any examples that kind of like pop to mind of careers or types of artists that you see their work or how they navigate their career, and you're like, oh, that's a roadmap, or that's inspiring?
I'm gonna say, well, recently I went to Amy Sherald's show in Baltimore, and I'm really enjoying her like notoriety behind like her art that extends beyond like just the art world. Like regular people, not I don't say regular, but like people who are not super into art still love her work and know about her, and you know. So I'm liking to see. I like to see that path because I think that for me, I am getting an audience of people who are in like similar.
You're definitely crossing over, I would say, in a way that is extending beyond the fine art world.
Right. So it's good to see that it's possible. Because the art world can kind of feel inclusive on a bit, or specifically. So yeah.
So what is it for you then? Why is that important? Why is that, like, what came first? The being inspired by Amy's trajectory, or recognizing that, shoot, this is happening to me and this is another artist that it's happened to?
Yeah, no, it was definitely recognizing what's happening to me, right? Because I felt like who could I compare myself to? Because I, like, most of my favorite artists have like 1,000 followers on, social media. It's not like if I ask my friends, like, hey, do you know what this is? They're not going to know what it is. Versus me, it's like, I think more people know who I am sometimes in the art world, which is interesting because I'm trying to navigate that space because I don't think there's been many examples of what I could think of as Basquiat, you know what I mean? But he was also already there.
Right.
So like all my friends know who Basquiat is, but
right.
they don't necessarily know. I don't like throw any names out, but you know, big artists that I love.
Right.
And you know, my art is about these people. So I want them to feel seen, and I want them to feel like heard, and you know, beyond just like representation of like, oh, that's like a face that looks like this is my story that I didn't even know other people could relate to or even talk about with art, or like, you know, show something visual that I've been feeling inside and haven't known how to express.
Right. And I'm sure when you were that high schooler who was like, this is the path, I'm going to figure out how to make art my everyday thing. Sure, you weren't necessarily anticipating that it would turn into what it is now, which is beautiful, which is amazing, right? Because it's like bigger than you could have anticipated. Yeah. But for you, how was it when your art started to cross into maybe more of a pop culture space or like a broader culture space with wide conversation? When did that happen? And like, what piece of work was it? How did that feel?
It was the first like viral piece that I had was the school supplies that it was a AK-47 that I made out of pencils. And when I first started, my art changed a lot when I became a mom. And I started to tell my story and his story. And I felt like, okay, like this is important enough to talk about. But then as I continued to make work about like our experiences, I don't think I necessarily realized how many people related to what I was saying or creating. So that
thought it was just for you.
Yeah, it was for me, you know. And then I'm like, wait, this is about us. You know what I mean? Like, there's plenty of mothers or parents who are just like anxiety filled about sending their kid to school because they have to do these after shooting drills because, you know, school shootings is a real thing, you know. So I've just been using it as a way to express myself and deal with these like really complicated emotions. And I'm like, I have these things in my head and I'm like visualizing them and creating them. So I'm able to, I learned to kind of speak for a group of people who haven't been able to express themselves in that way. So that piece was interesting. Like the response was really interesting because people are like, yeah, you're right. We should be talking about this. Like, it's not normal. And it's not really seen in art spaces. And it's the work of I don't want to say controversial, it just has like heavy, sometimes has heavy, you know, concepts behind it.
Which can have probably polarizing responses, right? You got people who are like, yes, let's talk about this, you're right. And like other people are going to stand back, right? It's just negativity. Yeah.
But I think it's a, you know, important work. So that was the first one. And then the belt series that I'm creating right now, like, was like 10 times more viral, which was really interesting to me because I'm like, again, a personal experience, but also the experiences of people around me and my family. And it was another, I think, experience where people were like, I didn't know how to talk about this, or like I just kind of kept this in the back of my mind the last 20, 30 years. And then to see it, you know, realized in a piece of artwork and I feel seen and like, yeah, I know what this is about, you know. So it was beautiful. Like the conversations that I want to have happen are happening. And I'm just like grateful to like help facilitate those.
Are these conversations happening on social media for you, or are they like panel discussions, you know, in your exhibitions? Have you started pulling in a little bit more of like the dialogue? Like, where are the conversations?
Everywhere. People will come up to me and like,
girl,
cry.
Here.
Yeah,
I told you what we heard. We were having the talking tour. We were moving into your studio, and someone was like, "Wait, is that the girl from TikTok?" I said, "Oh, we got a celebrity."
That's so funny. When people say like, "Aren't you from TikTok?" It's hilarious to me because it's not like, "Aren't you an artist from TikTok?" It's like, "You're the girl from TikTok."
Right.
I'm not mad at it though because like now I reach so many like, young people too, like. And they feel really seen. Like there was a young girl here who was like crying and just like, I just love your work so much. And I'm like, yeah, like wow.
What does that feel like in the moment for you? Are you like, oh shit, like, I don't know what to do with my hands? I usually
hug. I probably always hug someone when they come up to me and cry. Like, I'm hugging you because
it's the mom.
Like, no, especially when it's like a young person. Yeah. Like, oh my gosh. And it's like, to me, if you can't like if you're emotional enough about it, like that means that you relate to it in some sense. So I'm like, kind of feels like our inner children are healing, you know, because of this work. Like, I don't know, it's been overwhelming in like the best way. So.
And so it's interesting because, like you said, the series that you're working on is very connected to your personal experience. You said your art has kind of moved on this like interesting trajectory and has evolved really with you as a person. So you started out painting what?
What was I painting?
Yeah.
Well, I painted myself and my sister.
Okay.
And then I painted my son.
Your son. Okay, that's what I was starting with. I was like, wait, that's not the beginning because he's only 8. So you're painting a lot of like familial portraits, self-portraitures, human figures mostly.
But as children. Like,
why?
That's a good question. Well, that wasn't the very beginning, but that was like that first body of work that I put together for my solo show. And I think I like starting from the beginning. You know, I like the inner child work. I had paired like painting with like my report cards and certificates and stuff from childhood, and with like collage, mixed media. And I got to like read about myself as a kid because my mom, she keeps everything.
I love that. And you grew up in Peachy County, right?
Yeah.
Pretty girl County.
So I got to like read these report cards and what teachers are saying about me as a child, and like it's been in my mom's basement, you know, for 25 years. So that was interesting, and I got to like ask my mom and sisters questions about things I didn't remember.
So I'm sorry to break it up. I'm just curious. So what did you learn about baby Lex? Like, what was your personality? What were your teachers saying? What were your siblings saying?
They said great things. Like, my teachers said great things. I was a sweet little girl. I have a piece called Sweet Little Girl. Aww. But then my mom and my sisters were saying that I was not a sweet little girl.
That's usually how it goes,
right? Okay, so at school I wasn't good, and like, because I don't remember much from my childhood, but like at school they perceived me this way, but back home I was this way. Then I had like 1 year where I had bad grades, like just 1 year. And I'm like, okay, so what happened to me that year? You know, like why was I acting out or whatever have you? You know, children do that for a reason. So I had to, you know, ask difficult questions too, you know, so.
Yeah, okay, so keep going. So you were painting yourself and your family, starting out from where it started, then it moved into your son. And so like, but then I think you said after a while, it felt like when you started shifting from just like beautiful portraits of him, interesting portraits of what he's doing, into like the things that you guys are experiencing that were a little heavy.
Right.
You didn't want his face in it.
Right.
Is that still okay? Yeah. What was that shift? Like, how old were you guys?
I sent him to school. Like once he became school age, I think it was like 4 or 5. 5 was when we did his first active shooting drill. You know, and I'm like, he's in kindergarten. I'm like, how do I talk to my kid about this? At first, like I was just using materials in the paintings, and then school happened, and now I have like these school uniforms he's using, so I can talk about the public school system. It's like a lot of comparing his childhood to my childhood, and like how different the school system is, or the same in some ways too. I'm thinking about like the school to prison pipeline. I'm thinking about how they're banning books and like all these things that are already happening to him that he's not necessarily aware of. But I'm like, as a parent looking in, I'm like, hey, we should talk about this. Like, they've named so many books that we just haven't said anything. You know, like why can't our kids read about our history? Why are we erasing, you know, what actually happened? Why are we lying to them? You know, so yeah, I started talking about these things that were bothering me, and I wanted to use like materials that are everyday materials, common materials that people can recognize, and talk about these things.
It's interesting because I was curious about this earlier when you talked about always enjoying art and not really enjoying the other parts of school, right? And for me, I'm always curious, like, what is it that art does for people, right? You mentioned not liking a certain type, but then loving painting, right? Not liking the digital aspect, but loving like the part where you were connecting with the material.
Right.
And I see that as a through line, but I also see how art is like this emotional outlet for you. You're sweet. You are. You have a very sweet demeanor. And I asked you earlier about like, how does it feel being plopped in front of all these people all the time? Because you're probably a little bit more introverted. And I can imagine that like, art has been a place for you to say the things out loud or express yourself without having to actually verbally. Yeah. And so that's also a divine that I'm seeing. And so is that accurate? Like,
No, absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I'm a visual person. Like, I've never been good with my words necessarily, and that's probably why I went back to school. But even when I was younger, I didn't know that these felt pieces are like my feelings, the things that I don't know how to say, you know, and like visualizing them. And sometimes even the work now, I want to start the conversation, but I don't want to continue.
Right.
I'm like, let me put that out there. If y'all want to talk about it in the comments, if y'all want to talk about it, I just want to start the conversation like that. I'm a little instigator a little bit. So yeah, it is accurate.
And so flipping back, but you do the work though, because like, at least internally, at least like with the people that you feel safe and comfortable with, right? Because when you talked about the work that you were doing about your childhood, trying to uncover maybe some of the just things that you were finding about yourself, now moving into being a mom and trying to find a way to talk about these things with your kid, or just to wrestle with them internally for yourself. Like, you do the work in the work.
Yeah, exactly, in the work. That makes it easier. And then the work is also like helping me have those conversations with him, because he's seeing me make the work. Why are you using belts? Why are you making that? So it's like, I can answer those questions, but when he just comes to me and like, hey, mommy, like, what is the N word? I'm like, where do I start? You know, where do I even start? And like, how much is appropriate to say to a 5-year-old at the time, you know?
So when these things come up, do you like, hold on? Yeah. And then you like run to your studio. Let me sketch this up for you.
I'm getting better over time. But that's what I want to do.
Yeah.
That's what I want to do, because I'm like, I don't know. You know, it's my first time being a mom. And I don't know the right things to say. I just want to be open and honest about like what I know. And there's some things that he's asking, I just don't have the answer for. I have to go research it. Like, he has
this is the research.
Yeah, he has like a lot of religious questions too. And so I'm like, okay, well, I need to be sure about like what I feel before I just kind of, just because this was taught to me, I'm just going to teach it to you, you know?
Yeah.
So it's been a lot. He's making me do the work.
Well,
you know?
I mean, I think that's the thing that parenting, I've seen, do for a lot of people, right? It forces you, like, these are already relationships with other people are mirrors, right? In it, you identify, you know, parts of yourself that are good, parts of yourself that need improvement, much less, I mean, even more so when it's a small human that you are now responsible for caretaking and cultivating into a decent human being, right? So you're like, not only do I have to answer these questions for myself, I also like want to get it right, and I also want to improve where there's these gaps. So as you are, I mean, it sounds like he is intelligent and like introspective and asking all the questions, making your job harder, but it's like a sign of doing a good job. And I'm curious, like, what commonalities are you seeing? What parts of your own childhood have you like had to excavate in this process of parenting? Yeah, and going through your artistry as a parent.
Yeah, I mean, it's just a lot of comparing us. Like, I wish I was like as outspoken as he is. Like, he's not afraid to speak his piece, you know. He'll tell you like, hey, I didn't like that, or he'll use something I say against me. It's like, I thought you said that we're supposed to act like this, you know what I mean? So I'm like, come on,
you know, now you want to listen,
right? You're right. And so me as a child, like I think I kept a lot of stuff to myself, and so the work is forcing me to not only like look at myself as a mom, but look at myself as a child too. And so it's like, it's great, but it's like, it gets tough also.
Are you finding maybe inspiration and courage from him to now speak your piece and speak up? Are you finding you're having some of those conversations with family or friends or the larger community that you probably wouldn't have had?
I would say I'm making the work to have the conversation. I'm still struggling with having the conversation. Like, even like the note works and stuff, and like everyone will call my mom and ask questions. I still didn't have the conversation. I'm like, I made the work, you know. You see it. So I don't know.
You know, I got this on the belt that you 10 years old. You start labeling them. So okay, let's talk about the pieces that you have on the table here. Let's get into the belt work, because that's the thing that I'm pretty sure that's the girl from TikTok, like that we know you for currently, right? And actually, I want to talk about that shift from painting to materials. So it sounds like you use a little bit of materials before your report cards, etc., and some of your old work.
Right.
But then you really shifted over. So let's talk a little bit about the shift, and we can go on to here.
So
You're fine. Sorry, I'm like on the tip. Let's see, you're funny.
Okay, so when he went to school, and so this is my second solo exhibition, and I started using like his uniforms and his costumes and the paintings with him. And then I had this whole new setup, like his uniform pants, he wears these khakis every year, and he grows out of them. So every year I have like a whole new set to work with. And so I started to try to figure out how I can make it like a portrait without the face. So like I would use the pants and like stuff them in a way that it looks like there's a kid in there, but it's like not an actual kid in there. And so the more materials I would use, like the less I started painting, because I didn't feel that the face was necessary, you know, to show or to even feel seen in the work. It could just be more about like the story. And yeah, so I mean, I haven't painted in a couple years, which is like surprising, because painting was definitely my first love. Like I enjoyed painting so much, and then it was also a matter of like the more I'm exposed to art and artists like from the past, then the more I know that I can do. Right? I didn't know about David Hammond when I was in high school. I didn't know that I could make work out of velvets. You know, like I'm like, what? You know what I mean? So now that I know I can use anything, I'm like, okay, like everything is an art object to me. Like I can walk past the stop sign and like, I'm gonna take that if it's on the ground. You know, I'll take that and I can use it.
I love how you did a little disclaimer.
If it's on the ground, I think it's illegal. It's illegal. Get outside. Don't do that. Don't do that.
But
No. So everything is now art, you know, to me, which is starting like a bit of hoarding. You know? So I gotta get a storage. So I'm like, I will have like random rocking horses or like just random things that I see during childhood that will sit in my studio for months. Like I don't know what I'm going to do with it necessarily, but I know that this is a familiar object that people will know when they see it, and I can use it to talk about like another subject.
Okay, so then you have completely shifted into materials, and I love the way that you're exploring the different uses of it. So your current series, is it belt series? Like, what do you?
I'm referring to it as like the belt series.
There's so many amazing pieces that are coming from it, and you're playing with it in so many different ways.
Yeah.
So, what was the first piece that pulled you into the belts? Do you remember?
Actually, which is crazy, I didn't even remember this at first. So a few years ago, maybe like 3-4 years ago, I made this sculpture, and like I got a mold of my hand, like a cast of my hand, and it's like just my hand like holding a belt, right? And so it's like not marble, whatever material it is, holding
ceramic,
something. And that's when my work I felt like was kind of literal, you know what I mean? And so I had that, but I kind of just made it, I think, because I was messing up. Years later, I am thinking about discipline and what that looks like in my household. And the first piece that I made, it was called Hard Head and Soft Ass. And so there are two all black works. Spike Lee collected them, and which looks really exciting. But those were the first two that I made. From there, I started getting bigger. I made like a 6 foot by 6 foot piece, and then I had to get all these belts, and it took forever. And I'm like, how can I keep using these belts and not have to spend months and hundreds of dollars buying them? And that's when I started using the belt as like the tool and like painting them and whipping canvas. So that's when those works kind of came along. And like most of the material I use, I'm gonna like see how far I can push it. I'm gonna use every part. You know, like I want to make it a sculpture. I want to, you know, like what is every way that I can use it. And that's why I guess I haven't moved on yet from here, because I'm like, well, now I can use the buckles. You know, now I can, you know, make something else with it. So just maximizing everything I do to continue to talk about it.
I think all of the works that since your son's been in school and the topics that you've approached with your art have been heavy, that I feel like this series, there's a more physical kind of like element to your artwork, because you're literally whipping and beating a canvas. You're inking it? Like, tell me the process that you go through to kind of get to these pieces.
Yeah. So the first one I made, it was acrylic and it was wood, and so I would just kind of like take the belt and like whip the canvas and turn it around and just I whipped it for hours and hours. And then now I'm more so moved into ink on canvas or on wood. And yeah, just the same process. Just like looking back at it, like I look at the actual composition, but it's stepping into the realm of performance art.
It is. That's what I was thinking.
Yeah. So that's been an interesting adjustment for me because I'm like a little shy when it comes to like that. But when I did show that small clip of me making the work, people wanted to see it. Like that sound of the belt hitting the canvas kind of did something, I think, for them. And, you know, some people it's sit, some people it's sound, some people, you know, it just brings back memories. So I think going beyond the visual and starting to add like the audio effects or, you know, just the performance art aspect of it can be helpful in like facilitating, you know, what I'm trying to say.
But that's an outward, I think, perspective of the performance. What about for you? Like, what does it feel like physically to be in that space? Do you have like rage music on? You know, you take your breaks because I was a long time. Like, how do you prep yourself for it? And then what does it feel like when you're in it?
Well, the first time I just jumped in there because I was like, I have this idea, I was going to do it. There was no music, and like internally it was difficult because I'm like, okay, well, this is actually what people are doing to their kids. And it's like this small canvas, so I'm like literally having to like lean down and hit it. And so
it feels like a child.
It felt, you know, and I'm like, I can't even remember it, you know what I mean? I'm like, this, and then not only that, it's like, let's see that after effects of it. That's what like leaving a mark. And I'm like, I get all these comments like, yeah, I still have a Because I Love You scar on my leg or, you know, whatever. And so that was difficult. So the second time I did it, I started stretching because I was in pain, like a lot of pain. Like it really hurts, like your shoulder area making that movement.
This is the it hurts me more than it hurts you
there
part.
I was in a lot of pain. And so, yeah, I started stretching, a little like meditation before, still no music. Maybe right before, like there's.
I mean, it's probably good there's no music. That was too exact.
I mean, no, I like listening to music, and so I like right before I did like a piece in here, I was listening to Kendrick Lamar's "Fear" song, which people told me about it. This reminds me of Fear, like when I sing that, and then I heard the song and I'm like, wow, like this is exactly what I'm talking about. And so yeah, I'll listen to some music, but again, like every time I'm like, I cannot believe people are doing this because like it's just I don't know. It was a lot.
Not to diminish it because I'm a child that got a couple spankings as a kid. I know I had to push my mama real far to get there, but I got that. Yeah, I did it often enough. And you know, I can imagine that it wasn't as severe as, at least thankfully in my case, it wasn't as severe as what you're doing here. So I know that there's a separation, like you said, there's a performance element of this, but this is something that truly happens to people.
Right.
Okay, so that's the physical part, but what about the mental and emotional part for you when you're in it?
Yeah. Well, I guess usually thinking of my kid, you know, because I am so like familiar with him. Like, oh, this is his child, and you know. So the first thing I did is mainly, I can't believe this. Like I could never do this to my kid. But then when I worked on a bigger one, I'm only able to hit a certain part because I can't reach the other part. So I'm like, okay, it kind of feels like the smaller he is, like the more I can get to him. But also, it's like. It made me think about the Because I Love You aspect of it. To me, as a child, I'm like, what? Like, you know, this isn't, you know, that doesn't make sense. But now I'm like, a lot of parents are really whipping their kids because they really are trying to protect them. It's like a strange way of showing, but it really is love.
I mean, there's some elements of the spirit of Rod's both child, right? And I think even if we think from a community standpoint, as African Americans, I know there's a longer tie to our history of being whipped ourselves, but also being a little bit more strict and protective of how the kids are reared, because there isn't that same amount of freedom in the world as you want as adults. So it's like this delicate balance. If I dote on you and dote on you and chewing it with you, then you are walking in this world as if you have no concern.
Right.
Whereas there's a little bit of the need in the mind to create more restriction, to create boundaries, and to create maybe a little bit of fear. So that way, when you're walking in this world, it isn't always our oyster.
Right. Yeah. So I think I'm starting to understand it more, but not in the sense like I'm gonna do it, but like I'm kind of like, okay, I kind of get it, because as I got higher up on the campus, I can't even reach them anymore. Like at a certain age, when my kid's 6 foot, like there's nothing, I can't do anything.
It's just clicking to me. What you're saying is clicking to me. So what you're saying is, the younger they are, the smaller they are, the more reach and impact you can have, and then at a certain point,
we can't.
Whatever imprinted them from before, that's it.
Yeah.
That's what I'm thinking. Well,
the other day when we were recording the thing, like I'm like, I can't reach up there. Like I can't. Like it's like faint marks, at the top. So.
Okay, this just reminds me of one of my close friends growing up. She talked about her brother always getting in trouble. I remember this from high school. So we were big high school best friends, and she talked about her brother always getting in trouble. And after a certain point, their daddy was like, "I'm tired of whipping you, but you about to get one." And he would whip, and his son would like jump over the belt. And one time he went up, but the son didn't jump, and it couldn't so it's like this. Yeah. He was 16. He was fine. We're kids in the 80s and 90s. He was alright. But it's just that, like, and then at a certain point, parents are just like, I'm done. I can't really,
or like they get bigger than you, or like they'll grab you one time and they're like, well, dang, I can't really. There's a point where they have to stop. So, and I feel like at that point, it's like, I did what I could, and they did their best in some cases, and that you just have to let their kid, be who they are at that point.
And I think that is also life, right? Like there's only so much that you can do. You have to hope and pray that you instill the right ideology and morals in the person, and then the person has to be to do. I know as mom says, you never really let go. Okay, so since you've been here at your residency 3 weeks, so fast but like furious, because you've gotten quite a bit done since you've been here. What have you been working on?
Well, since coming here, I think the work got more sculptural, more movement. I feel like having the space has been helpful, because I'm like, I can breathe and I can work on multiple things at one time. And so those are those pieces. And then you have like the belt buckles that I've been accumulating over the last couple months that I wanted to make a sculpture with. I didn't know what it would look like fully realized, and I think it's still in progress. But that's one piece that I'm making. I don't know if you can really get into it a bit. So I was at first organically letting it take its own shape. But the more I worked on it, the more I kept thinking about the history of corporal punishment in Black households and how it stems from slavery. And so as it started making this certain shape, I started seeing the slave ship in it. And so the other day at dinner, Beverly had said something about the nitty gritty. And she was saying how the nitty gritty is the bottom of the slave ship. It's what's left over after the slaves are taken off.
I never knew that.
Me either.
We know the term.
Yeah, right. But
we use the term.
And I know the history. So I had looked it up, and there's different opinions about whether it's accurate now, but I'm this is really interesting, and it reminds me of this piece that I'm making. So I think that's probably going to be the title of it. But I'm going to work with the metal shops to create a frame and kind of bring it upward into a ship shape, and so I want it to be freestanding, and maybe find a way to kind of use in the line space. I really like the sound of chunks, chings. But yeah, so I'm working through it. I don't know what it would look like fully realized, but kind of letting it be. I'm being flexible with it, and I'm excited
to you.
Yeah,
I mean, it's really beautiful, but the symbolism in it. For instance, we know that getting hit with the buckle or the buckle itself would make the most damage, right? So I think it's pretty interesting that this one is all buckled. I know that at one point you were hoping to use fire to kind of or metalsmithing to bring in join it all together, but because of all the different materials and metals, that wasn't going to be easy.
Right.
So then you shifted into the wire, but even for me, the wire kind of gives another visual element that feels really intentional.
Yeah.
And I think you said you like it because it also allows for the movement.
Right. Yeah, if it was all welded together, it would probably be like just flat. So now I get to kind of like bend it into different shapes and manipulate it a lot more. Then, and that's, I think a lot of when I'm working with a new material, it's about exploring it and like trial and error. And it usually turns out a lot better than I even imagined.
The happy accidents.
Yeah, right, apparently.
You answered the question that was in my mind. Like, is that usually your workflow? Is it like, let's just see what?
Pretty much. Pretty much. Like, I have an idea or a concept that I want to talk about, and I kind of, if I start, then it happens. Like, it'll happen. That's all. Sometimes I'm like, oh, like, I don't know where to start. But once I just do, then it all comes together.
And I love the name that you're thinking of for this one. And I love the names of a lot of your pieces. How do you handle the names? What comes first? Is it the piece and then the name, or what?
It depends.
Yeah.
It really depends. So like this one was the piece first, and sometimes it's like someone just says something and it sticks with me. I'm not much of a sketcher. I'm like just writing little quick notes. So I'll write sayings that I'm familiar with or things that other people say. Or I'll write a material that I think of, and I'm like, okay, if I think it, I try to put it down because I'll like literally forget, have my mind just goes.
I mean, and fill over too much information overload. Right. It's hard to retain things. So even this to me looks like a notebook. I'm like, oh, is that your little journal?
That does.
Yeah, you can make it better. Let's the next.
Maybe
you have a little art sale, a little museum shop.
Okay.
Yeah,
I like that. Yeah, I need to make something in some smaller works for sure, and prints and all the things. So yeah, sometimes I like look at the piece and I'm like, then the title comes to me based off of like what it feels like. But yeah.
And where do you get? I mean, a lot of your titles that I'm aware of or familiar with come from like colloquialisms or like language and conversation, popular sayings. You know, like the ones that relate to the action.
Yeah.
So is that where, like you said, you just hear things that sticks with you?
Yeah, and like especially as it gets more abstract and conceptual, I want the people I'm making the work about and for to still have like an entry point to like understand what I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
But like still leaving space for like them to have their own like experiences, in the work. Yeah.
Okay, so you've been working with the belt buckles. You have been doing more sculptural stuff here and printmaking. Talk to me about the journey around those things.
The printmaking has been a lot of fun.
It was your first time printmaking?
Yeah.
Okay.
So I had started back home, just kind of putting ink on the belts and kind of just pressing it on paper, which I enjoyed those, but I just didn't have access to like a print flat. And so being here, I wanted to find a way or like a method that I can use to create like small works and more affordable works. So that's like been a really big thing for me lately because I'm like, yeah, it's nice that people get to see the work online. They want it in their house, and everybody can't always buy a huge sculpture.
Right.
So that was a big part of what I wanted to do when I got here. And so that's been really fun working with Caroline to like play around with different compositions and like just try things, that I can take back home with me. And just having access to like the metal lab and a wood shop if I need it has been so like instrumental because I like exploring and experimenting. So I have an idea and to be able to like realize it, and even if it's not like it doesn't work, then I still get to like take that tool with me and use it, and it'll come up at some other point.
Yeah. I mean, you said earlier when we were just kicking off, like residencies for you initially were an opportunity to, it's kind of like school, right? An opportunity for you to try and explore new things, but also be in an environment that forces you to think about things in a different way. Right. How has this one added to your experience with residencies?
I mean, as soon as I got here, I'm like,
drop in.
Like I went to like all the museums here and just kind of looked at a bunch of work, and I'm like, I felt inspired, especially having a space. I mean, like the last year, the work had kind of started going back down to like 24 by 24 size because I just don't have room. So to be able to work on multiple things at once has been like beneficial because I'll like play with the buckle here and I'm like, okay, maybe I'll put the buckle here, and you know, I get to do multiple things and that has been like so helpful. Yeah.
Have you found, and I know we have put people in front of you, cameras in front of you, me asking you questions all the time. Have you felt an impact on your interaction with folks? Like, how does that feed into your work?
I mean, it's good to like practice talking about it. Because I'm just like, I'm making it work, so I don't have to talk about it, but then people want to know more about it. So I actually do have to talk about it. But I think as long as, I think it's helping me talk for sure. And then be open and honest about like my feelings surrounding the work too, and be able to hear other people's experiences, because like a lot of people who have came through here the last few weeks have known my work, you know, they just didn't think they were going to see it in person. They're like, I'm so happy you're in Charlotte. Like, I've been following you, and like, I get to see it in person too, because it's nothing like seeing artwork in person. So it's been great, you know, to be able to kind of just explore a new city and with people and to
I think that's amazing. I think that, hey, you are embodying, I think, what residencies are meant to be on two sides. The first side, for your sake, right? Like, exploration. This room is much bigger probably than what you normally have to work from, so it becomes expansive. Your work, like you said, you can stretch out and work over here and here. You can have all these things going at a time. The other part is you're forced to talk about it. And I think, you know, the being able to articulate the ideas and the concepts come with practice, and come when people ask you a question that you might not have thought about it. Like, actually, there is half out here, or no, that's not it. And sometimes too. But then I think what you're doing is so important for us, because I think what is beautiful about this place, and a little different from what you get when you go to a museum or other galleries, is that you get to see the work, but you don't get to see the artist. And so all these people who have been following you and have been interested in your work, they could see it at like, if they go to Spike Lee's house, or they could see it, you know, at different museums and galleries. But being here has offered a space for them to connect with you, with your work being so emotional, an opportunity for them to, you know, like talk to you about it. And I think what I love even more is that oftentimes, especially for you, is people who aren't even super into contemporary or fine art. They just like you. And so like now they're able to come and like have this conversation, and you're broadening their world and their horizon. Like, you're doing exactly what this place is meant to be. And so I'm so glad that you've had a really great opportunity. I mean, great time here.
It's been incredible.
I'm
like, in any residency I do, like from now on out, I'm like, they got some shoes to fill, like some shoes to fill. I'm not gonna give me a studio in the car. I'm not kidding.
No, just call it into portrait. We sat in the bar. Okay, this is how artists should be treated. Point blank.
It's been so. I always say, like, if I have the space, the time, and the resources, like, I can do some crazy stuff. I feel like that's for most artists. That's when I was able to create my first body of work. Someone giving me a studio, someone giving me a grant. You know what I mean? Like, when you have that, I mean, you could do anything, you know, and then when you don't have that, it's like, it's really hard, you know, to be in a space to create, you know?
Okay, so what you talked a little bit about, essentially wanting to create, like, being here has allowed you to explore how to create things that are, or work that is available to the greater public, right? From like prints or sometimes smaller works that can be purchased and acquired by that big person. But I also know that your work has been a lot of other places too. So like, where you're going, where you see for yourself, like, what is it that you want to do next, and where do you want your work to be?
Good question.
Because we're not saying it out loud, so that whoever's listening can like, it's like your genie wish feeling.
I always say that, like, even since being here, I said it a few times, I'm like, I can do this for the rest of my life. Like, just go to a new city, create work, and like with no like real expectations. Would love to do that in another country. So that's a big thing I would like to do. And just kind of continue being able to have my work like publicly shown. So even if it is collected in a home, like, and I feel like there's usually talk about the work. You know, they're conversation pieces. They're not really meant to be hiding somewhere. Like this is a moment, you know, that people experienced, or like a moment of time that people are gonna look back at 30 years from now and be like, wow, what does adult have to do with kids? Adults have to do with kids, you know, because it's not a practice anymore. Hopefully. You're right, you know, at least my kids like, why are you using them? Good for you, kid. Yeah. And just doing what I do like on a larger scale. Like, I want to make bigger works. I want to make public art, have space to, you know, create, and then really, I always say, like, I'm living my dream. Like, being able to go somewhere and just make some work, like, and just make whatever I want to make has been, like, amazing. Mm-hmm. Yeah. No, thank you.
So next time we got to come back and bring kids and stay longer.
Yeah, absolutely. I will be back.
Or just move to Charlotte. I was free here.
I don't know.
Okay. Good. You did great.
Thank you.
How you feeling? Good. That's always fun. That's always my hope. Yeah. A regular conversation,